Okay, so we're going to be doing 8-6 today. We're going to be factoring and solving two types of type of equation, and the equation is going to be in the form x squared plus bx plus c. I'll write it down for you in just a second. So my notes are out of order. That's what took me so long to get that figured out. All right, so I said 8-6. Factoring and solving, because I'm going to do both. Equations written in this form. Equations written in this form, x squared plus bx plus c. When they are written in this form, and I'm going to plug numbers in, these you will factor. Okay, we're just going to factor. If I have x squared plus bx plus c equals 0, then those are the ones that we're going to be solving. Okay, you can't solve if there's not an equal sign. So in factoring, all of the ones today, everything I show you today can be factored in the way I'm getting ready to show you. And what I do tomorrow will be factoring differently. You can't use that method, today's method, on tomorrow. And the reason all of this is going to work today is because the coefficient in front of this first x squared for today is always going to be a 1. Okay? Tomorrow it could be a 2 or 3 and so on. But today, because it's just a 1, we're going to factor this way. So I want to start with this problem. We're going to do x squared minus 11x plus 24. First thing I want you to know is this. Because of this 2 right here, okay, whenever we factor this, we're going to have 2 sets of parentheses. Okay, so just know you're going to have 2 sets of parentheses. And that's usually where I start and tell students to start. Okay. Whatever this first variable is in the front, if it is a square, and that's what these are, it's going to be a square, then what you're going to put in the front of each set of parentheses is x. If this had been y squared, you'd put y's here. If it had been m squared, you'd put m's. The reason being, if you think about when we FOILed the other day, you did the first 2 terms, x times x. X times x is x squared. Okay, so does everybody understand that? So in the front of those parentheses, you're always going to have that variable. Now, here's what I would need you to do. Ask yourself this question. What can you multiply together to get positive 24 and add to get negative 11? So what 2 numbers can you multiply to get positive 24 and add to get negative 11? And I usually write them off to the side like this so you can see. So I know the factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. If I add these, well, I could get 25, 14, 11, and 10. So which of these 2 factors should we be using? It'd be negative 3 and 8. We're going to use these. And the reason they're negative is because this is negative. I'm going to go over something with the signs in just a second. Negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. Okay, so negative 3 times negative is positive 24. Negative 3 minus 8 is negative 11. So you're multiplying to get that last number and adding or subtracting to get the middle numbers. Everybody clear on that? Yeah? Okay. So x squared plus 7x plus 12. How many sets of parentheses will we have? 2. And what will be the first thing in the parentheses? X and X. Good. What can you multiply to get 12 and add to get 7? Okay, 2 and 6 will give us 8. 3 and 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 plus 4 is 7. So plus 3 plus 4. And now it's factored. Within these sets of parentheses, I do want you to understand, and it will help you as you go through this. When you do enough of these, it gets really super easy to factor. I'm going to tell you that. Okay, so if you struggle a little bit with what can you multiply to get this number, to add to get this number, just understand it's with practice that you get that way. But I will tell you this. If you've got x squared plus x plus c, okay, so some numbers, so these are both positive, then your parentheses are both going to be positive. Okay, that takes the guesswork out. You don't have to wonder what are my signs going to be. They're both going to be positive. If you've got x squared minus x plus c, so this term right here is negative, then inside your parentheses, like the first example, both signs inside your parentheses are going to be negative. If you've got something that looks like this, or something that looks like this, you're going to have one positive and one negative. Okay, that's just what you're, and not necessarily in that order of the plus minus. I'm going to do one of those for you, or actually I'm going to do a couple of them in just a second. Okay, so this will just help you, and like I said, it takes the guesswork out of this, all right? Now, let's look at this one. Let's do x squared minus x minus 20. Okay. You know there's two sets of parentheses. You know in the front you're going to put x and x. What can you multiply to get 20 and add to get 1? Add or subtract to get 1. Thank you. 5 and 4. Hunter, you need to move up one seat. 5 and 4. So I just put, and here's how I do it. I just put the 5 and 4 in. Okay, I'm not going to worry about the signs. Just write 5 and 4. Now, I've already shown you from right here that you're going to have one positive and one negative. Everybody see that? So this is how you determine where your sign goes very easily. Look at the middle number. The middle number here is negative, yes? That means your bigger factor has to be negative. So it's going to be minus 5 plus 4. And on this type of problem, it always works that way. Let's look at this one. I'm trying to find some with different signs to show you. We'll do x squared plus 5x minus 24. So, again, you know two sets of parentheses. And you know the first term in those parentheses are going to be x's. What can I multiply to get 24? 8 and 3. So 8 and 3. You know based on my previous note that you're going to have a positive and a negative. To determine where those go, look at the middle number. The middle number is positive. That means your bigger factor has to be positive. So it's going to be plus 8 minus 3. Now, let's take this same problem we just did, this one. And let me put an equals 0 behind it. So now we solve it. You factor it just like we did, and you have an equals 0. To actually solve this for x, from here you use what's called the zero product property. And the zero product property says that if I have two terms, a times b, and this equals 0, then it means either a has to equal 0 or b has to equal 0 for this to be a true statement. So if x plus 8 times x minus 3 equals 0, it means either x plus 8 equals 0 or x minus 3 equals 0. So what it means is set each one of the sets of parentheses equal to 0, like I just did here, and solve each one separately. These are one-step equations. So I'm going to have subtract 8 from both sides. So in 1, I've got x equals -8. That's one answer. Or x equals 3 is my second answer. And that's how you solve. Now, binder. It's messed up bad because I've lost notes. I want to do a harder problem. I don't feel like I'm going to be challenging you with a couple of these. These are too easy. What questions do you have so far? None? There it is. That's what I wanted. None? Okay. Let's do another one. We're going to solve a couple. So let's solve this one. X squared plus 2x minus 15 equals 0. Step 1, factor it. That's what we've been doing. For those that still might be struggling, by now you should know you're going to have two sets of parentheses. And the first term in each set of parentheses is going to be whatever this variable is. So it's going to be x and x. And again, I write this off to the side. What can I multiply to get -15 but add to get 2? 5 and 3. And this way, since I already wrote my -15 and +2, you know it has to be -5. So I'm going to do -5. Nope, it's the other way around, guys. +5 -3. Now, whenever there's an equals 0 behind that, you have to, or it equals anything for that matter, you have to solve it using the zero product property. So set each one of these parentheses equal to 0 and solve. So I'm going to get x equals -5, x equals 3. Is that fairly simple? Okay. If all this is what's called standard form when everything's on one side of the equal sign. When they're in standard form, it's pretty easy. And I'm going to tell you today, everything factors. Sometimes these don't factor, but that's a different lesson. Sometimes they're not in standard form, and you need to recognize that. Okay. This problem right here, there's an x squared. I want you to put it in what's called standard form. That's where everything's on one side of the equal sign. So I'm going to add 18x. And that's going to give me x squared plus 18x plus 56. And again, so everybody knows, that is standard form. Oh, sorry, since I subtracted the 18x, that leaves equals 0. We're solving it. So go ahead and factor that and solve it. Or at least start to get it factored, and I'll help you. That one's a little bit trickier. So you know two sets of parentheses. I'm going to help you with that. X and X equals 0. And I'm going to put the 56 over here and put the 18 here. So what can I multiply to get this number and add or subtract to get 18? So what can you multiply to get 56? 14 and 4? So 14 times 4. Okay. That's true. And you're right. 2 and 28, for example. 2 and 28. So these will all give me 56. But only one of them, when I add it, will give me 18. Okay. So it's the 14 and 4. So do plus 14 plus 4. Set each of those equal to 0. And solve. So x equals negative 14. X equals negative 4. I wanted to have more time on the factoring, especially problems like this, because this is quadratic. Okay, this is actually a quadratic equation. And we solve quadratic equations, some of them by factoring. It's going to be, and I can't stress it enough, it's going to be critical that you're able to factor these. Okay. So if you have questions at all, this would be the time to ask. And I know you guys don't like talking in class, at least not with everybody here. But if there's something that's not clear, thank you. Yes?
So, just for the signs, would it be the negative plus the positive? Or the negative and a positive, would that just be a negative?
Multiplying, yes.
Okay. And then if it's a positive and a negative, would it be both signs?
Okay, so you're saying in this form right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so all I can tell you is that if the last sign here is negative, then inside your parentheses you're going to have a plus minus. Okay, it can be negative, negative, but that's how it's going to go. Any other questions? All right, your homework's on Canvas. You can go ahead and get started. If you have questions, you need to ask.